Today you'll see a wonderful skirt with really nice details, and depends on what fabric you use, can work for summer or winter. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from knittingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and I'm filming outside in the cold. That's why, I look a bit silly. All my mom's things. It's less than 0 degrees. It's around -2 right now. All the grass, the trees, they're all covered in ice. It's amazing, beautiful, but cold. What I've got to share with you today is a new pattern from Itch to Stitch called Irazu skirt. You can see Kenneth and her versions. Here with the liner, you might see more of the details. It's a really nice skirt that hits the natural waist, nice and fitted at the waist towards the upper hip, and then it has a bit more volume. There's a front yoke that has a curve. This section is double. The back also has a yoke. It's a little less curved. And then just below that curve of the yoke, you have a little bit of gathers in the center. So pretty. There's an invisible zipper on the left side. And you can also add inseam pockets if you want, and the invisible zipper. The technique to do both is there. Now you can do it in 3 versions. One is just simple. It goes A-line up to above the knee. That's what I've done. You can make the same style just longer and be a midi. And the other midi option is that you cut the skirt a little shorter and then add a second T that's gathered onto there. Because the Irazu skirt is a brand new pattern at Itch to Stitch, it'll be 20% off through next Thursday, the 24th of July. So it's a good time to get a pattern always when it's a new release. I'll leave you my affiliate link at the top of the comment section, pinned, easy to find. Also in the description box, if you do end up clicking on my affiliate link and purchasing, it doesn't cost you any extra. It just means that I get a small commission back from the designer. It's one of the ways I make an income creating helpful content here on YouTube. So I really appreciate it if you use my affiliate link. For fabrics, you need light to medium weight woven fabrics. I think heavier fabrics could end up a little bulky, especially around the invisible zipper area. The instructions say that drape is desired, and I totally agree because of the gathering features below the yoke and just the shape of it. But it's always a personal preference. I'll just talk about the fabrics that I think would work better. Rayon twill, rayon crepe. I'm sticking to like medium weight rayons at first. Then you have Tencel twill also, some crepe fabrics. Maybe a wool suiting that's lightweight and drapey. Wool crepe would be amazing. If I was making the longer versions, the midi versions, first thing I would make them down to the maxi because I can't wear midi length. I don't feel good. I would probably use something a little lighter weight and a little flowier just to keep it closer to the body and not coming out. It's got slightly A-line shape. So if I was making the longer versions, I'd probably use a rayon linen blend, like those ones I love to use where it's maybe 70% rayon, 30% linen, or 87% rayon, 13% linen. Those would be amazing for the longer versions, in my opinion. I've made the shorter version, so I've used a Tencel twill that is beautiful. It's navy. I actually traveled with it over here. I brought my fabric over because I knew I was going to be sewing the skirt while I was over here. And it was a perfect fabric choice for me. It's nice bottom weight, not transparent. It still shows the gathers beautifully. It has an amazing drape. Highly recommend that fabric choice. You need other notions for this one. You need an invisible zipper, 9-inch. You still have some excess length at the bottom, but that's desired. You need some fusible interfacing, fusible stay tape if you have some. Otherwise, just cut little strips of interfacing like I did this time. You need a small amount of 3/8 of an inch elastic that goes in the back waist. Sizing for the Irazu skirt is from 00 to 40 US, goes up to a 62-inch hip. It's got a fitted waist, around 3/8 of an inch of positive ease, so less than an inch of ease. I think that is absolutely fine for this type of skirt. And that is the reason why I opted out of putting the elastic on the back, because I knew I was going to get a nice snug fit without having the elastic there. The elastic is just meant to be there for support of the seam. It's not supposed to look gathered at all. So knowing that it was a fitted waist anyway, now going out to the mid to the full hip, you're going to have a bit of space around. I think if you end up with different sizes for the waist and hips, you should blend to the proper one so that you do get the correct fit. There's a diagram in the instructions that shows you how to blend and unite the yoke to the skirt so you can get a smooth side seam right there. It's not hard to do. In my personal fitting, I had to blend from a 12 waist to a 14 hip. No problems there. That's blending sizes. I wouldn't say that's like a fitting adjustment. And then the next thing I did for personal preference was add 1 inch of extra length to the shortest version because I'm a bit tall And I thought that was going to be okay above the knee, otherwise it would have ended up too short for me. So the fitting process, pretty painless, pretty easy. I knew this was going to fit and I could just focus on having the fun of making it. Now I've filmed quite a lot of the sewing here for you to see. So let's get into up close and so personal. These are the yoke pieces that I'm block fusing right now. I have 2 layers of fabric here. The layer on the top is interfaced and the layer on the bottom is not, because we need to cut 2 of each, one interfaced, one non-interfaced, and I'm cutting them out at the same time. Block fusing means I interfaced a slightly larger piece so that I don't have to cut fabric and interfacing separately. That's when everything shrinks and moves out of shape. That's all avoided with block fusing. These are the pattern pieces for the Irazu skirt from Itch to Stitch. Both of the front and back pieces are on the fold. This one's the front, this one's the back. You can see the front has a lower curve right here than that one. This is the back. The yoke pieces are a little smaller because the center area is going to be gathered to fit those pieces. So the front yoke is longer, has more of a curve than the back one. You can see there's 2 layers for each. One is interface, that's going to be on the outside, and the one under there is non-interface, going to be on the inside. And we have an invisible zipper that's going to go on one side. These are the yokes that are going to be on the outside, the interfaced layers. This larger one is the front, this smaller one is the back. They have the same width here on the side. Now looking at them like that, just looking down with the interface side up, we need to interface this side, the left side of the front yoke and the right side of this back yoke. They're both going to end up on the left wearer side. This is where you use fusible stay tape. I don't have that right now, so I just cut strips of non-stretch interfacing, and I'm going to fuse that right there and then right there, and that's to stabilize the area where the invisible zipper is going to be. And I'm going to do the same thing with the skirt pieces. So there is the front yoke fused with a little strip right there. To make it easier and less confusing, I just grabbed the front skirt. The front skirt is also wrong sides up, the same as the yoke. And we're also going to fuse a little bit of stay tape along this edge on the hip area where the zipper is going to be. There's a dot there. I'm going to go a little past that dot here with my stay tape. Well, I'm not using stay tape. I'm using this little thing, and it'll be the same thing. So here it is. I fused it right there. It's completed the hip area where the invisible zipper is going to be for the front pieces. I'm going to repeat the same on the back. Here I've done the same with the back. I suggest you do it this way. I think it's less confusing to do them in tandem because you know that these are going to match and you're going to have the interfacing in the correct side. So this is the back. This is wrong sides up. The yoke is wrong sides up. And we have fused on. It's the left wearer's side, but when you look at it like this, it's on your right hand. A general step I have done off camera is to serge the edges here on the sides and even the hem part. You can see the serging thread right there. Easier to do it now than do it later. The next step is to unite the skirt with the yoke piece. Get the gathering done over here, and it's going to be the same for the front that we see over here and for the back. Up here on the waistline, you're going to see a mark. Then you have the center and then another mark. So between these two, we're going to do gathering stitches. I'm going to do 2 rows. This is done with a long stitch length. The first row, I'm doing it at about 1/4 inch. And then the second row, I'm going to do it at about 5/8. I'm doing the second row at 5/8 because later when we unite the yoke to the skirt piece, we're going to use 1/2 inch seam allowance. That means the seam is going to be right there in between the gathered section. Here I've got the yoke and the skirt piece right sides together. This is the top part of the waist, and then there's the curve. Over here is a mark for the center, matches the mark on the back. And over here is the mark where the gathering started, that matches that one here, and same as on this side. So it all matches really well. It's not excessive gathering here. From here to the edge, it's 1-to-1 on both sides. So now we just sew that together, 1/2 inch seam allowance. And it's the same for the back piece, all the same. It's just that the curve is a little less intense on the back. I've changed to a regular stitch length now. I finished all the gathering details in the middle of the skirt. This is the front. The back has the same type of detail. Seam allowance is pressed up towards the yoke piece. And now I have pinned the side seams. I can sew that regular side seam that doesn't have a zipper now or after doing the invisible zipper. It doesn't really matter. I've got them pinned. And on this side where you see that extra interfacing is where this invisible zipper is going to go. The stop there has to be 5/8 of an inch below that edge there. And that's how you're going to position it. Now, I don't have the presser foot that helps me sew invisible zippers. That's the only way I like to do it. I don't like doing it with a regular zipper presser foot. So for this one, I'm going to be sewing it by hand. I already have a full tutorial on invisible zippers on my channel. This is how the thumbnail looks. Just replace everything that you see me doing with the machine there. I'm just going to do it by hand, and that's how I'm going to get it to look neat without having the proper presser foot. It'll take a while, but it'll be worth it. It'll go over that seam right there. These are the inner yokes, the ones that are not interfaced. These are going to go on the inside of the skirt. And these are both wrong sides up. I have pinned one of the sides right there. So you need to have it looking exactly like this so it makes sense with the zipper. So you have the back over here, pin the side, and then you have the front over there. These ends that are on their own are going to be where it closes up where the zipper is. We're going to get this seam sewn 1/2 inch pressed open. Then we do a guide stitch around the bottom, also at 1/2 inch, so we can fold this up and have it ready as a memory crease. And then once those simple steps are done, we're going to attach this to the waist. Okay, magically the seam has been done and pressed open. The bottom edge has been folded up. I already removed the guide stitch, but I've kept my basting stitch there so it doesn't move at all. Here I have the inner yoke, and I have a step that you could have done before sewing the seam together here or afterwards. For me, it doesn't make much of a difference. And I did it now because I still hadn't found the piece of selvage to use. In the end, I found some rayon and I just cut out a little piece of the selvage. So that furry bit there, that is the selvage. So it's going to be really stable. I'm using rayon because it's still firm, but it's going to be lightweight and less bulky on the inside. You could have used cotton as well. So I've just overlapped it there where the seam allowance is, and I've put it a little bit further from the edge, and I'm just going to baste it in place there. When I sew this to the skirt, then I'm going to sew at 1/2 inch, so I definitely want to catch it there. So I'm starting here and I'm going off to the edge of the front yoke. Just the front, the back doesn't have this. I know this looks sort of ugly, but don't worry, this is never going to be seen. It's going to be enclosed, so no one will know that this ugly piece of fabric is on the inside. Okay, I have aligned my front yoke, the inner one that's not interfaced, on top of my waist, right sides together. Here is the interface side. Now this is where the zipper is. I've extended the seam allowance so it's fully extended, but then this yoke that's not interfaced is protruding here on this other side by 1/2 inch. I know it looks really weird, but just follow the steps, it'll work out just fine. Now what I've done here is feel for where the zipper teeth are. I can feel them, I can see them. I don't want to sew right into it like I've done with another technique I've shown. I'm just going to sew further away. So I think my regular presser foot is going to work with a needle to the left. As long as I'm catching the tape underneath, it's going to be good. Just feel them. I think the edge of my presser foot is going to be against the teeth, and I'm just going to stitch this in place here. And I've done the same for the other side. Basically, this is still loose, but the yoke pieces are right sides together over here. It's the same thing. I still haven't hand basted this side though, but I will. Okay, here is that vertical seam. I've used my regular presser foot over here with a needle to the left so that there's a distance between the zipper teeth and the seam. It doesn't have to be really close like I've shown on other techniques. So that's sewn like that. I can remove this basting stitch. I'm going to repeat the same on the other side. Okay, there's the basting stitch removed. Over here it looks like this. That is how that looks. Now when you flip it on the inside, when we wear the skirt, it's going to end up looking like this. This inner yoke won't be right there close to the teeth. I have done a technique where we sort of repeat that and sew it right there, but I can see how the pull and everything might get stuck having so much bulk. So this technique is definitely nice and less bulky than the technique I've sewn every single time I've done an invisible zipper. So I like this. And don't get confused about this extending like this. It's because we have it further away. So it's still going to match up in the end. Now I'm going to head to the iron and give that a press, just so that it's nice and set there. Okay, I've been to the iron, I've pressed that really lightly. This fabric is very delicate, so if you press it too hot, it can get shiny fast. So I gave it a very, very light press. Now let's flip this to how it was. That's our seam. What we need to do now is fold this like this. You can see my hand stitches from my hand zipper insertion. But that's how it's supposed to look. You're supposed to feel the teeth right there on the edge of the fold. Remember, the stop is below 5/8 of an inch from the top. So when we sew the seam now, we won't be catching the stop of the zipper. It'll just be zipper tape. So I'm going to pin that in place. And I've got the same thing on the other side. And now I'm going to keep pinning along the top of the waistline, match up the side seams, and then we're going to do the final stitch on the top. So make sure that whatever you're doing looks like this. I'm using white interfacing on my stabilized area, so it's really nice to see what this looks like. So remember, that is your seam. Then you're folding this so that the zipper teeth are right there on the edge. You'll see your seam from when you sewed it. Actually, you won't be able to fold it another way. The teeth won't let you fold it another way. They'll be right there. Pin it in place. What we're going to sew is right here. Here we have both sides folded like that. Make sure this is what you're seeing. I'm going to start over here. And remember, 1/2 inch seam allowance. We're not going to run into the zipper stop because we put the zipper 5/8 of an inch from the edge. So it should be all okay. When you're sewing the two back yokes together, it's just 2 layers of fabric, one interfaced on the top and the interfaced one on the bottom. But as we pass the seams, side seams, we're going to go onto the front. You're going to have that piece of selvage there as well. Now on the front, we have this selvage. What we're supposed to sew in the back, just on the seam allowance area there, is elastic. I've decided to skip the elastic for mine. From the outside, it's going to be not visible that I don't have the elastic, but I know from previous experience that I really don't enjoy the feeling of having that elastic there. I'm very sensitive in my midsection area. So I'm going to skip the elastic, but you go ahead and sew the elastic there if you want to. Up here, it's a lot of seam allowance to leave, so I'm just going to trim some away, cut it down. Now, the waistline is a little bit curved, so I'm going to be snipping just to relieve the tension because it's going to be folded back. We're going to flip it in. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Now, I'm going to do some understitching here. I want to keep that yoke inside, and I'm going to skip the edge stitching that's at the end of the tutorial. I think whether you edge stitch or you stay stitch, I think it's a visual thing. I want a really clean look to this skirt with less seams visible, so I'm not going to do visible edge stitching or top stitching. I'm going to do the understitching instead. Just personal preference. It doesn't really change the shape of the pattern, the look of it, or the fit, just the final details. So I'm going to go and open this up, push the seam allowance underneath the non-interfaced yoke right here, and just sew on the edge. I won't be able to go all the way to the corners because we have to flip this, so I won't have full access. But as far as I can, I'm going to understitch from here to the other side. Okay, the understitching is done. It's barely visible, but it's going to achieve the purpose. Now this is the inner yoke, so loose still. This is going to come over, cover that seam right here. This is how one of the ends looks. Super nice. So I'm just going to pin and match everything. Make sure that this fold is below that seam line. I'm going to hand baste it in place. And then what I'm going to do from this side is stitch in the ditch, seam of the yoke. I'm going to be catching this other layer on this side, and then it won't be seen. Other alternative, like it said on the pattern, was to edge stitch on the top and there, but then that would make my top stitching visible, and for this skirt I would rather keep it super subtle. Okay, here's the right side of the skirt. You can see I've actually basted in the ditch right there, and on this side I'm catching the fold. We had already done that memory crease, so I've done that all the way around. Now I'm just going to stitch in the ditch. With my regular presser foot, I go slow and I just go sewing right in there, and it's going to turn out super neat. The original hem of this skirt has you folded up twice by 1/2 inch. So in essence, the hem allowance is 1 inch, but I've just decided to serge it, fold it up once. It's quite a heavy fabric. It would have looked bulky if I folded up twice and sew it with a machine. So I'm doing this by hand. I've already got quite a bit done here. You can see on this side, it's really invisible. It's going to be super neat. And this Tencel twill, it's easy. It's so tightly woven that I can just take one tiny fiber here from the skirt piece and then catch a little bit from the hem and then over and over. I go every 1/4 inch or so, taking a tiny fiber and then just doing that. This is a very simple way to hand hem. I don't do complex types of hand sewing because what's the point? And I do a lot of this and I've never had a hem go undone or start ripping. You know, this is strong enough to last for years. So that's how I've opted to do my hem. Here is my Irazu skirt. I love the color. I think it really shows off the features beautifully. Here is the front yoke. It's nice and curved. It's got this light gathering in the center, nothing too much. Similar thing on the back, but on the back, the curve is less pronounced. Same gathers over here. Over here, you have to be careful that these yoke seams and the side seams match. Mine are maybe like a 1/16 of an inch off. It's really hard to do. And then over here is where we have the invisible zipper. I have a full video on my channel showing you how to sew the invisible zipper, the zipper itself. Now, I had to sew mine by hand. My mom's machine is quite basic. I don't have the right presser foot for it here. And if I would have brought my presser foot, the machines are not compatible. So I'm not the person that's going to sew an invisible zipper with a regular zipper presser foot. That just does not work well for me. So I had to hand pick it. And yeah, it took a while, but it turned out okay. You know, the seams don't match perfectly. I'm about 1/8 of an inch off right here. But it was really hard to control with the hand sewing, but it's very invisible. You can't see it and it's very smooth here. There's no pucker. So have a look at my tutorial on how to sew the zipper itself. But then when you sew on the yoke, then the technique differs quite a bit here and it looks quite different with the instructions, but I've shown you how it's done. And on the inside is very neat. You can see the inner yoke goes away from the zipper for a little bit of a distance, so it's not right there, and I really like doing that, although it had me scratching my head for a bit, but it turned out really neat on the inside. I preferred to have the details at the end very discreet. I didn't do the edge stitching or the top stitching. I just stitched in the ditch, and you can't see the stitch, but it's still holding the inner yoke inside really, really well. Now I did my hem by hand, like I usually do. I'm always so much happier with that. It's rare that I like to sew a machine hem. I would do it if it was a print maybe, but with medium weight fabrics, I love my hand hem. I think it looks so smooth. It's totally worth the time. Figured out some styling options for you. Raiding my mom's closet, see what fits me. We are different sizes, so I can't just wear everything she has. But I've got one summer styling option for you and 2 winter ones. So let's see. Love how it turned out. Here's my Irazu skirt from Itch to Stitch. It's a beautiful navy rayon twill. I've got the above the knee length. You can also do a long one or another long version with a ruffle at the bottom. Super, super nice. Nice and fitted at the waist, then the high hip, and then it just flares out. You'll see the details up closer. Mine is a size 12 waist blended to a size 14 hips. Maybe you can see the icy grass around me. It is less than 0 Celsius, around -2. So I don't know, less than 32 Fahrenheit. Super cold. I've chosen one of my mom's blouses just because I have nothing else and because you can really see the details here. I've tucked it in so you can see the yoke at the back. Very nice there, nice fit, 2 layers, and there's light gathers in the center, same as at the front. The front yoke right there, rounded with the gathers right here, and the invisible zipper is on the left side. It's pretty invisible, super, super nice. It's a lovely skirt. Remember, you can make it longer. I made the shortest version, but mine is 1 inch longer, just because I'm a little bit taller. Here is a closer look at the front yoke. Super lovely. The fit is right at the natural waist here, very comfortable. And the back. Very, very nice details. Really enjoyed sewing them. I had to raid Mum's closet to be able to style this. It's so lovely. Loved sewing this skirt. It's amazing. It's a bottom weight fabric, but still pretty drapey. Tencel twill is amazing, and the details here are really fun to sew. When I talk, you can see how the steam comes out of my mouth. Here's some winter styling. I've got a semi-fitted jacket made out of soft shell, Mum's of course. Fitted black shirt tucked in right there. Little lovely scarf from my mum. My combat boots, and I think this is perfect. I would always want to wear a skirt that has a bit more volume like this with a jacket that's semi-fitted and not that long. So this is a perfect match. Semi-monochromatic look here, all with the blue. I think this looks lovely. You can see the proportions of the skirt, the volume, and the jacket a little bit better. It's just right, just how I like it. I love having things that I can use for when it's hot and when it's cold. I think it's the best thing, versatile. Now, I've just got my bare legs here. I would wear thick tights underneath, skin color or whatever. But yeah, it's perfect for winter and summer for me. Maybe not for the Chilean winter, but definitely yes for the Brazilian winter. Love this. Check out this other winter look from my mum's closet. I've got her tan boots. They barely fit me. I love the combination of navy and tan or caramel, sort of light brownish. I love it. It's just the best thing. And I found a matching silk scarf from her as well, animal print. I think it looks really lovely with the navy. It covers up mostly the black shirt I've got underneath. For this, I would probably swap that to a navy shirt, something that's not black. But anyway, I love this look. I think it's perfect. Another way I can wear this skirt in the cold, like now, where it's actually cold. If I was at home, I'd probably show you more summer versions for styling. I have so many more options there. It's okay, I'm making do. I have plenty of this Tencel twill left over to make a set someday, make some sort of cute topper. That would have to be shorter than longer, and I think it would be an amazing set. I'd love to make this in a really lightweight denim. I think it would be super versatile, would be amazing. I would keep it short. Now, if I would have had time, I would have loved to make a long one with a tee, but I would have added a center front seam in the tee so that I could have a little slit. And then I would have used a lovely print, and I think that would have been amazing. But I'm pressed for time and resources over here. I did what I could, and I'm just really happy to have it. I hope someday I can make it again, because I think it's a really unique skirt. It's just different to other skirts that I've made, that I have, and it's really well designed, thought out. The instructions always top notch. I recommend. I think you would like it. And I have some fabric left over, so there's going to be a set. This will be a set eventually when I make the topper, so that's something exciting to look forward to. Remember, the Irazu skirt is on sale through next Thursday, the 24th. Next time you see me, I will be back at home, and that's a promise, because I can't really change my tickets anymore. I have to go back. See you then. Bye.